Show you
Yeah,
guys
absolutely.
now an awesome diagram. This thing I'm about to show you blew my mind when I learned about it, and I hope it will for you too. So this is something called the cash flow quadrant. Has anybody heard of this before? From Robert Kiyosaki?
Yes.
Yeah, he has a book about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Are you all familiar with this chart?
I am.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, let me just go over it quickly. So this is the quadrant for, really the point it makes is it's very difficult to build wealth when you're just an employee. So on the left hand, when you're an employee, you do have a job, so you're making money, but you're trading your time for money. And when you move down to self-employed, that's definitely better because you own your job, you have more control over the total amount of money you can make, but you're still trading time for money when you're doing freelance work and one-on-one work. Um, in both for both employee and self-employed, you're paying a lot more taxes than you would if you are moved to the other spaces of business owner investor. So it's very difficult to build wealth on the left hand side when you're an employee or self-employed. And it's very, in the self-employed space, it's very difficult to scale because you're working one-on-one with clients. Your clients take up all your time. You basically have like a bunch of bosses, just more bosses, and it can lead to burnout. So like an example of this is the way I started with making money online was freelance writing, and it just turned into me having like 10 bosses for all my clients and like having to meet their deadlines and all of that. And I was making extra money, but I was working all the time. And like the only way to make more would be to work every weekend and every night. And you also pay self-employment taxes. So it can be a bit of a trap to stay in the self-employed space. It's difficult to take yourself out of the business. It's difficult to train someone else to do what you do while you're still freelancing. So we want to think about eventually moving over to the business owner quadrant and making a long-term plan to transition over to that. It's going to be very difficult to do that at first. You do kind of have to go through this flow first of when you're increasing income in the self-employed space to find ways to make extra money, build up what will be a potential business. But I want you guys to really, from the beginning, have an idea that you don't want to stop just at self-employed. Long term, you want to, start thinking about transitioning over to having a business, which is turning that one-on-one work you'll be doing into a more scalable product and offer that can help make passive income. So an example, Fernanda, I'll use what you're talking about with like personal finance work with the Latino community. You might start working one-on-one with clients and coaching. That would be kind of in that self-employed space because you'd still be training time for money to work with clients. But eventually you could turn that into an online course, into a group coaching program, and put into modules like we have in Immigrant Finance School, the same information you'd be telling each person. So you're not repeating yourself, and it's a more scalable offer that you can share with people, and then use the extra time like in group coaching to go more in depth to answer more personal questions, things like that. So think about this long-term transition to have a more productized offer, and then eventually you can be in a place where you're able to hire a team, hire employees to help with a business and with growing it, with selling it, and all that. And then the last quadrant is for investors. So when you see like all these wealthy people who don't work, the reason they're able to do that often is because they are investors and they're living off their investments. So their money is basically working for them to make more money by just growing exponentially in the market. And they're getting dividends, which is like money that the companies in the stock market pay you to be investing in them. It's just like free money, kind of like the interest rate in a business account, in a bank account. And people can eventually live off just that the more they have invested. So any questions about how this works? Okay. So we'll be talking about like today with the online business, how to just get started with something to make money, but think about a scalable offer from the start. A lot of people don't do that from the start, and then they kind of build a little trap or jail like around them with their consulting work, where they're just working all the time. So we want to have that long term plan to transition.